Welcome to the Picture Show with Austin and Phil Rude. I am Austin Rude, and I'm the son.
And I'm Phil Rude. I'm the dad. Every week we watch a movie, and then we get on the mic to talk about it.
That's right. We talk a lot.
A lot.
That's what we do.
That's kind of... It'd be weird if we didn't.
Yeah, it's a podcast with just like page turns
dead
and
air.
a few sniffles and.
Yeah. Wow.
Is the AC still on? Just like calling out to each other across the room.
You hungry? Yeah.
No.
Little like just reading in the room together.
The Nothing Podcast.
Kind of like what our house is a lot of the time when it winds down. It's a lot of that just laying around. Oh, you hear like faintly, like you hear TikTok videos in the background being played.
We are pretty much just cats. We own 3 cats
That's
in this
the goal.
family.
That's the goal, is to just be that for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll slowly morph into
we'll
cats.
get there. Yeah.
Retirement, peak cat.
Peak cat, yes. What have you been up to?
This week, not a whole lot. I will say I have been, and this is a shocker.
Watching Doctor Who.
I know. Who would have guessed? No, I've been reading Batman comics.
Cool.
I happened to pick up an issue of Batman Detective Comics.
You got some more recent stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a 2016 issue.
Okay. All right.
It's part of the DC Rebirth, so it's like this new timeline. Less baggage.
Yeah, I was out by then, so I don't. Yeah, sure. I don't know any of the Rebirth stuff.
I don't really know how to get into Batman comics because there's just so much.
So much, yeah.
But I picked up a volume, and I tried it out, and it was really good actually. Had a whole storyline about Batwoman training some lesser known vigilantes, and a lot of drama with the League of Shadows coming up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
So that's
timely.
That's what's going on in Batman comics in 2016. I'm pretty sure it's not even relevant in Batman comics in 2021.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't
know. I really don't. A little bit after New 52, maybe a year after the New 52 came out, I think I was punching out.
You were on the bandwagon until then? You were like,
I was, I read some Batman stuff. That's about all the DC stuff I read when I was regularly or semi-regularly reading Big Two comics.
Okay.
I read some Jonah Hex too. I read some DC stuff here and there. More Marvel. And now I don't read hardly any of it. Yeah. Except the older stuff.
I don't know. I find it hard to like keep up with the overall thing, but I do think there are some really good like just standalone like this one storyline. It's just I need someone to sort through the mess for me.
Yeah. Places online will do that. And if our listeners are comic readers that just have their own personal taste of like what is a good jumping on point, please let us know. Like,
that's right. I
or
totally,
a good arc to read.
I forgot that we have this great
we do have some resources.
resource to do our dirty work for us.
That's right.
Yeah. But I don't think you've been reading Batman comics this week.
I've not.
What have you been?
I started reading Song of the Sandman by recent guest J.F. Dubois. And I've finished a series on Netflix called Midnight Mass. Just yesterday I finished it up.
I've heard of it.
It's very, very good. It's very good, character-driven horror. I don't want to get into it too much, but there's a lot of vampire lore mixed with Catholic lore, mixed with the residents of this small fishing island in New England. But really, it's on Netflix, and I had heard about it. It's a really, really slow burn. I almost punched out halfway through the first episode, but I stuck it out, and I'm really glad I did. It's one of the most unique things I've seen in a long time.
Interesting. I've heard people talking about it, and it sounds like it's kind of like Lovecraft Country in terms of
Um,
like the vibe that it's putting off, but I don't know if that's
no, I wouldn't quite go there with it. It's more grounded than Lovecraft Country, and it's not. Don't take this the wrong way. It's not as heavy-handed as Lovecraft Country.
okay.
I think Lovecraft Country was very good, um, but I think it's an apples and oranges kind of thing.
Okay.
In the slow burn department, like it is a big arc that it's a 7 episode series, I think, and it is a slow burn that goes across those 7. It's a little bit at a time. It's a lot of character work.
Interesting.
So in that way, I would say it's comparable to Lovecraft Country. Like that's very much about the characters there too. And the other thing I've watched a ton of movies recently. I had some time off work and I got caught up on, like I like to do, take that time and watch a ton of movies that I've fallen behind
binge while you can.
And the one I want to shout out, and I'm not going to talk too much about this either. I watched Promising Young Woman on HBO. I think it's still on there.
Nice.
But I would really recommend taking a look at that. I think it's very, very interesting. It's very unique. It's I can't talk about it too much without spoiling it. But it is also very character driven, and it is just a very, very unique kind of revenge fantasy story. And I think I don't think it's necessarily underseen, but I feel like it's something, at least in my circles, it's not talked about a lot, which as interesting as I found that movie, I found kind of surprising. Once I had watched it, I'm like, why are more people not talking about this?
This checks all the boxes of kind of like
it's sort of like this is
a
this is a really and things that people are talking about in the world, and
I've heard a lot of good things about that.
It's a very, very good movie. Great cast. Our boy Bo Burnham, who we've covered on a few things, he's very, very good in that.
Well, he's the only reason I'd watch it, because I mean, who wants to watch a bunch of women in a movie?
Look, watch that movie for whatever single reason you want to watch it for. I mean, I watched it out of curiosity just because I had heard about it. But yeah, Clancy Brown's in that movie. Mr. Krabs for
interesting.
Yeah, there's a really great cast in there, and it's a really interesting movie. So that's what I'm gonna shout out. Is just those couple things, or not shout out, but summarize my.
We're not at the end of the episode, Dad.
Yes,
Come on.
I know. We're getting there.
I mentioned Batman once, and he thinks we've already talked about the movie.
I think that might have actually just happened to me. Like, well, I guess we're done.
Usually takes longer, but I won't question it.
Well, that was a blur.
All right, but yes, we should just get straight into the conversation this week.
Let's do that.
Because we watched the 2005 Batman Begins. This is a reboot in a way, because it's an iconic.
It's just a new
character.
Yeah,
it's the start.
It's a new Batman series,
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, this is the start to the iconic Dark Knight Trilogy, where Christian Bale stars as our Bruce Wayne, a millionaire motivated to reduce crime in his city of Gotham due to his parents' death. But after he learns about the failings of the justice system, as well as discovering a secret organization ready to destroy innocent people in order to defeat Gotham's criminals, Bruce decides to take things into his own hands and thus becomes The Batman.
Batman.
That's
Not
right.
the Batman. The Batman comes out next year. This is just Batman.
Okay. He is the Batman, though, is he not?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure. No, I know. Like, there are some, like, there was an animated series called The Batman, too.
I kind of think the sound makes it sound better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm Batman. Wait, the Batman?
Right.
Yeah, like that. Like, oh my god, you're famous. And then they, like, do a selfie with him.
He's the Incredible Batman.
Right.
We don't have that.
Yeah,
that would
so,
be a little weird.
that's because he's
the Marvel thing.
DC. Yeah. They don't get adjectives in DC. They just have to be the thing that they are.
Well, there is All-Star Batman. But I don't know what
like
that is.
It's
I
just another
know.
Batman series. There's like 10 Batman series. This is what we're talking about. Where do you jump on?
Right. You jump on with the movies.
You jump on with this movie.
Christopher Nolan.
I think this
gave
movie is
us-
a great jumping on point.
It is. I think this. We'll talk about this movie for now. Yeah, this
let's
movie's
stick
a
with
good
that, yeah.
jumping on point for Batman.
All right. Well, where do you want to start with this? You got a cast? You want to start with a cast?
Let's start with the cast.
Okay.
Let me quickly look it up first, though.
It's Christian Bale, like you said. It's Michael Caine as Alfred. Ken Watanabe as Ra's al Ghul. Or is he? Liam Neeson as Ducard, also as Ra's al Ghul. Katie Holmes is Rachel. Gary Oldman is Jim Gordon. Cillian Murphy is the Scarecrow. Who else we got here? Mark Boone Jr. Love that guy. Plays Flass, the crooked cop. And Morgan Freeman plays Lucius Fox. And I think Morgan Freeman is having a really good time here. I wanted to do cast specifically because one more cast member, Linus Roach, plays Thomas Wayne. And do you know where you and I have recently seen Linus Roach?
I don't think I know that man from anything else.
Oh, but you do.
Please tell me.
He is the cult leader Jeremiah in the Nicolas Cage film Mandy.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put it in the show doc.
I was so, almost upset and confused because I just saw who is. You wrote in the notes, Linus Roach as Jeremiah, and I'm just like, who was the Jeremiah in this movie? Like, Scarecrow's name is Jeremiah, and I just didn't pick up on that or something. Okay.
No, that's it, man. But yeah, also very good as Thomas Wayne in this movie.
I'm glad to see that his cult rose to prominent success. He got a lot of money off of it.
What if they became the League of Shadows?
That's right. Weird.
Yeah, great cast. I love that Christopher Nolan puts great cast together. And you can see it. Like, I feel like this is kind of the start of those actors that Christopher Nolan would use. Like, Michael Caine is in everything.
Everything that
Christopher Nolan
does,
makes.
Yeah.
Christian Bale has been in a few things. Like, it is sort of... And then, like, some of the... Cillian Murphy. Who,
I think... Doesn't he work with Gary Oldman a lot? I feel like he's done something else with Gary Oldman.
He might have done something besides this with Gary Oldman. I mean, I did figure by the time we're done covering this trilogy, we will have done like a ridiculous amount of Gary Oldman movies.
This really is like we're racking them up.
Yeah, we have like...
If someone has like a tally...
I want to say 5, maybe 6 Gary Oldman movies. Yeah, it'll be 6. It'll be these 3. The Planet of the Apes, True Romance, and Book of Eli. That's
crazy.
6 out of our 51 movie, or by that time it'll be 53 movies. And it's like our 5th Nolan movie.
Yeah.
So
it's
like, it makes you wonder, like, are we going to eventually cover the entire career of these two people?
I'd like to thank Gary Oldman for coming back on our show.
For our friend of the show, Gary Oldman.
That's right. I feel like I've just known him for so long.
Yeah.
Thanks to how often we cover him.
We are really getting to know Gary Oldman, who in this movie they try to make look young, but
doesn't work.
Sorry, Gary Oldman.
It's in the name.
Gary Oldman.
Old man. Yeah. You can't make him.
He'll never be Gary Youngman.
They try to CGI his face just
man,
super
I'm so
young.
glad they didn't do that.
The technology rebels. It just says no.
It's just like it freezes and it becomes like one of those like when they're obscuring someone's identity and they
blurs him.
matrix his face out. Okay, so that's our cast. We got a ton of notes going all over the place, all kinds of directions. So,
well, let's start with the origin part of this origin story, because this movie has a lot of ground to cover. Like it has to set up the events of this movie, but it also has to set up who Batman is, who Gotham is. The whole DC universe, really, since I don't think this is connected to any other. This is just a standalone trilogy.
Yeah, there's no like shared universe, which I think I think that helps.
Yeah,
honestly, like they're not. This keeps it from being like Zack Snyder's Justice League or something like that, where like that's the thing about these movies is this is the grounded take on Batman, right?
Yeah.
Like, this could conceivably really happen. Like, it's a stretch, of course, but like nothing happens. Like, there's no aliens, there's no superpowers, there's no and like everything is in the realm of like heightened reality,
and it ramps up in a way that doesn't like break your kind of like belief.
I mean, outside of like the army of ninjas taking over a city, but
no, that happened like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a grounded take on it, which I think is what a lot of people liked about these movies. Some people didn't like that about these movies. They want their superheroes to be insanely. They want it to be a comic book.
Right.
Which I don't begrudge people that either.
I understand if this isn't the Batman that people like.
Right.
Like honestly, like the gruff Batman voice. Like that was made fun of for years. And I don't know if it started with this, but I think it
didn't
like
start
a
in
new
this
level.
because his voice isn't that in this movie. He hadn't quite taken on that that growly voice,
I think he does do it like when he suits up as Batman, I notice like I don't know, there's
he's
something,
getting there. It's about halfway there, but yeah.
It just feels like, because you're talking about this being a grounded Batman movie, but the actual Batman in this movie doesn't feel too grounded in terms of like how he's acting, like his mannerisms are a little over the top.
I mean, when I say grounded, I mean it's relative to, and it's just that's what, all I mean by that is like just the fact that there are no like superpowers or anything.
Right, his bat belt and all of his
everything is like, oh yeah, we have this magic fabric that you can turn into a bat wing. Okay.
Right.
Like yeah, like but it's almost just like kind of hard science fiction or something in that realm where it's like, yeah, this is fake, but theoretically this could be real.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I just felt a clash between the world I felt being set up and the Batman in it. Which is strange because, like, I like these movies and I like this Batman. But, like, just when analyzing it, I was like...
Well, what feels off about this Batman in this world?
Like, the way he's acting is so... Like, he's just so aggressive. Like, I don't see any of the Bruce Wayne. and I know Bruce Wayne is partly an act, but in this movie, there's really like three characters. There's like the real Bruce Wayne, there's the Playboy Bruce Wayne, and then there's Batman.
Right.
And the real Bruce Wayne, like, I can buy him putting on the act and becoming like the Playboy, but like I don't buy him becoming Batman. Like, I buy all the moral stuff that they put in here, because this movie basically walks you through like, why would you want to be a vigilante? But something about like he just turns into a different character. Like, he's more serious. You don't get
Right.
any of the same.
I think it's, yeah. I mean, I get it. And you can either put it as, well, that's the duality of having this other identity, is you would actually just become this other person. But yeah, I get it. Like, Bruce Wayne is almost like not even a part of this, because even when he's not dressed as Batman, like, that's where his mindset is in this. But like, by the time he comes back, he's either putting on the act of like the smug asshole, or he's working out like how to solve a crime or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, is you see like the Batman part of him when he's not in the suit.
Yeah.
When he's like most of this movie.
but that's what they're making the
But
argument
then when
of.
he is in the suit, I'm saying it feels different.
Just because he's just
than
all
that.
he's doing is beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like there's no hesitation, there's no like.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's almost like those are his work clothes for this very specific job of beating people up. With the exception of like when he rescues Rachel from her
In
from her
the-
drug trip. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Like-
thought you were talking about the
And that car
subway.
chase is that too. Yeah. But yeah, it is different from like before he has the suit and he's just wearing like a ski mask, and he like breaks into Jim Gordon's office, which is I love that scene actually. Like,
It is a good scene,
because he's trying to like build this alliance without tipping his hand too much, and he has to kind of walk that line of like, what I'm doing is super shady and dangerous, but it's the only way I know to come in contact with this guy and try to get him on my side. It's like, I like this part, to take it back to what you talked about, this movie trying to do everything, like do the origin and also have a whole movie worth of plot in there besides the origin. I think it weaves together really well, because I like the origin story, even though we don't even see pearls on the ground. How can this be a Batman parent murder without watching those stupid pearls roll all over the alley?
Oh, Dad, don't you know? Don't you know comics rules? If you don't see it, they didn't die.
Oh,
so
yeah,
the pearls are
yeah.
still alive.
The pearls are still alive, and his parents are still alive.
That's right. No, just his mom. Bat mom.
Oh my god! I think you just started a new
Comic series?
comic. Yeah. No, I like that. It is him doing. They show him learning about like social injustice and economic inequality and all of these themes that are in there without being like super heavy-handed about it, and then like going through his training and then coming back and putting these alliances together and building these relationships. I like all of that stuff. And he's fighting the mob. The whole League of Shadows thing at the end seems so like out of nowhere, like tacked on, like, because it's
really?
I get it. It's coming back around, and they plant seeds for it, but it's almost incidental to the rest of the movie. I get it that is the climax of, but this was about him fighting corruption in his city for so long, and then it's like these people just kind of kick the door down and go, "Oh, we're gonna we're gonna nuke your city back to the Stone Age, and and he's just like, oh well, I guess I have to stop this now, and that's. And I'm not even saying that as a drawback, because I really like this movie. I probably, out of this trilogy, I've easily watched this one the least. Just because it's the origin story, and I never enjoy origin stories as much. But I had a really good time going back to this, because I think in kind of examining it closer, I'll let you talk in a minute. I realize I'm rambling.
I'm just checking my watch here.
In watching this, like, with a more critical eye for the show, I'm like, this movie does all these things really, really well. I think. And I really enjoy rewatching this.
No, I think this movie does it so well. I'm trying to think of how to say this, because I think I get what you're saying with Ra's al Ghul kind of coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that left turn of like, I was Ra's al Ghul the whole time. You know.
Oh, well, that. But I'm just talking about, like, the League of Shadows being
I am
the final
too, but
villain.
yeah, like, everything about it is just sort of, like, out of left field.
Here's the thing, though, is I feel like this whole movie is about, like, what is the need for Batman? It's like trying to take us through, it's trying to show us instead of tell us, like, well, okay, let's start with this crime problem, right? And we see, I mean, we're introduced to it through Bruce, who was a very privileged kid and only realized it when he lost his parents, and, like, that is his only involvement in the justice system, which is how he realizes, it's not about reform, and bad people can be set free,
right,
in order to, get some other goal, or there's corruption or all that. But, like, that leads him towards the League of Shadows. But then he learns that the League of Shadows is also wrong, that their form of justice is murder, and that it's destroying Gotham, and that's also wrong in his eyes. So I feel like he's fighting the criminals, and then he gets help fighting the criminals, and then goes, oh shit, I don't like this help. And then that becomes the major villain. But what's weird is, even though that helps him become Batman, at the end of the movie, he hasn't helped defeat the criminals of Gotham at all. Like he hasn't done anything to fight the criminal underworld. He's just...
Well, I won't say he hasn't
stopped
done anything.
the city from imploding.
He took down, like, the major crime boss.
Oh, Falcone?
Yeah.
He did.
And, because it's Batman.
But I guess that was just so underwhelming, because, like...
Because that's not the point of the movie.
Right.
Right.
Like, they set that up as really important, and then they deliver it in the midway point to get to the Ra's al Ghul stuff.
This movie is about extremes. Like, Bruce Wayne is extremely rich and extremely privileged. And then he has everything taken away from him in the most extreme way. Not everything, but his parents are taken away. And then he has an extreme reaction to that, is to want revenge on the single man who killed him. And then he, like, kind of slowly comes to realize, like, oh no, this single man isn't the problem. This whole system that created this man, they address it, but they don't even bring up that it's like, the economic inequality of, like, it's brought up, but he never, like, addresses that with, like, like, they kind of say, like, oh yeah, your parents' murder shocked the rich and powerful into action, but it's like, yeah, the city's still a shithole. Like, how
exactly does that work?
What did they do? Like, nothing. But it's about extreme reactions, I think, to everything. Because then his reaction to that is to, like, oh, well, I can't be Bruce Wayne anymore, and just to disappear and learn how to be, like, a ninja, because that's what you do. But, like, then the League of Shadows, their response to crime is also like crazy extreme. And I think this movie is just kind of trying to say something somehow about just being crazy extremist, even if you're well-meaning. Like, being an extremist, it's counterproductive.
It's dangerous.
It's
right.
dangerous, and your morality, it's so easy to go, this is for the greater good. This is, I mean, we see it online all the time. People who side with shitbags, but they go, yeah, but, you know, this person's an ally of XYZ, therefore, and it's just sort of like, no, like that.
That's not,
I mean, we face it every election cycle. It's like, I hate this guy, but he's not this guy. And you just end up in this, politically, we're one extreme or the other. There's no moderates or middle ground or any actual problem solving happening. And I think this movie's kind of trying to dance around a lot of topics, which, by the way, in like '05, people weren't talking about economic inequality and this kind of like social injustice.
Right.
I mean, as much. I think this movie's like way ahead of the curve in a lot of ways.
Right. It kind of reminds me of like V for Vendetta in a little bit.
Yeah. Same time period, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
The early 2000s woke period.
People were paying attention. Yeah.
Recession and all that.
But yeah, they are talking about, I mean, this is a movie that's talking about billionaires should be socially responsible, which is something people talk a lot about now. I mean,
right.
People's attitude towards billionaires now is like, you're disgusting people. I don't know. Okay, when I say people, I mean me. But
I think a large portion of the American population.
I'm not alone. People are looking at the billionaire class and going, you're not doing anything but vanity projects with your money.
Here's the thing, though, is I think this movie addresses so many problems and issues in a brilliant way, and then like completely fumbles the ball on how to handle them.
Yeah.
It shows Thomas Wayne as this really rich person, but he's done some good because he's provided like public transport for people, and he's trying to make the city a better place. But in addressing this problem of like wealth inequality, the answer is not to like inspire the rich to spend their money on things that better the community. It's taxing them legally so that that money, the community's money, is redistributed.
Right. Yeah. I get that.
And then also,
that is an argument that has gone on for so long, is like, we should have social programs, and then people go, well, I think private things like food banks and churches should take care of that. And it's like, but the government could do this. Like this idea of like,
make it mandatory.
Whose job is it? Yeah, I know. And I don't think this movie was trying to take a stance on the income tax or the tax bracket system.
Sure, I'm just saying, like, it was a missed opportunity. And then what I will say is a more direct like violation of everything this movie is talking about is how you shouldn't be extreme. You shouldn't take things like, say, justice or the law into your own hands. But of course, this is Batman, and so the end result is you're gonna have a masked man taking the law into his own hands, which I feel like everything that this movie talks about points in the opposite direction. Of like, no, we need to limit corruption and stuff.
Sure. I think, Yeah, I like the. I don't think it was taking a stance on like don't take the law into your own hands, but like it is like I think he says at one point like he's trying to inspire his city to root out the corruption. He's doing he's working outside the law. And I don't think this movie's saying like don't do that. It's like somebody who's like, yes, I want justice. I want murderers brought to justice, but I'm anti-death penalty. Like, I think that's Bruce Wayne's like line in the sand is like, I'm not going to kill people. It is that famous Batman thing of like, I'm not going to murder people.
Listen, I'm not going to execute people. I'm just going to give you the poison and the needle and put you in a room and...
I'm going to... Yes, I know. I mean, how many... There's the whole thing with the train where Ra's al Ghul dies at the end.
You mean the trolley problem?
The train crash. But like also when he's training at the Ninja Academy, and then he like blows it up. Like, how many ninjas died in that explosion? You know what I mean? Right. It's like, and then he's like, I will. Oh, and that whole argument was over like, I will not kill. And then he murders 100 ninjas.
To be fair, now,
but he saved that one.
Now, to be fair, if you find out you're in a death cult that is planning to level cities and shit, you probably should blow up the headquarters and get out of Dodge.
I mean, it's an act of war at that point. It's not murder. But
right.
I don't think it is a weird stance on like being a vigilante. It's like, because it's seen as a heroic thing, but only in this one case of him.
Right.
You know,
I feel like Batman is not the example, he's the exception.
It kind of is.
But he's a metaphor for how you should get involved in a normal person way.
And he's also saying he's trying to be bigger than himself. It's not about ego. It's not about... He's like, you know, I want to be a symbol. I want to be incorruptible if I stand for this thing. I'm incorruptible. As a man is fallible. It is V for Vendetta again, where he's like, I'm an idea. You can't kill an idea. You know, at the end when they're all like gunning him down.
Right.
And also Michael Myers, you know, when he...
I was just thinking about that. I was like, isn't there a V for Vendetta moment in this? And I was like, no, I'm thinking of Halloween Kills.
Halloween Kills.
God.
Also, a mob of vigilantes who kill innocent people.
That's right. Listen. We've talked about that bad movie enough.
we're moving on.
Can I talk about? Because I think this is the first. I think this is original to these movies, but I could be wrong. Is Bruce Wayne afraid of bats in the comics?
I think it depends on what comic you read.
Okay, if it is original,
I don't know.
For now, I'm gonna credit Christopher Nolan with this idea. I don't know if it is his idea, but it really is a brilliant idea to take this symbol for a superhero and make it something he's afraid of, and therefore a fear he's overcoming.
Well, and this movie, a movie that deals this much with fear as a theme, the whole drug they're trying to put in the atmosphere is a thing that makes your worst fear, makes you hallucinate your worst fear.
It heightens existing things already.
Yeah, and it's it plays into what my shout out is going to be. So preview of that is the idea that Batman has always been a gothic horror story. Like, its villains, everything about it is monstrous and scary imagery. And I had never looked at it this way until I watched this video I'm going to shout out. But it kind of does frame everything in that way. And in that way, making fear a theme of this movie, I think, is a really natural move. Because when all hell is breaking loose and they show the hallucinations people are having, it's freakish, man.
It's creepy.
It's kind of intense.
All those vision scenes, the one with Batman turning into tar and
Into
like
the monster, into like an actual bat monster. Yeah.
And Scarecrow with like the maggots on his face.
Yeah.
They really did some cool
It's
stuff.
crazy. Yeah. It's a trippy movie, actually, a lot more than I remember it being.
But all these ideals, like the fear that this movie talks about and the crime, all of that is introduced in like the first 30-40 minutes of this movie. Like the first act really is like a season recap of a TV show. Like it feels like it doesn't feel like that. Like it leads you through naturally enough, but it really is like a fast-paced like.
Well, that's kind of the whole origins part of this movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is they get it done like right at the beginning. They're like it's multiple timelines that they've got. They've got like Bruce as a kid, his parents dying. They've got Bruce when the man's on trial. They've got Bruce running away and all of that. There's like 3 separate things going on.
And it's all... It doesn't feel like they got to a place and they're like, throw a flashback in here that we can immediately reference. Everything is about planting seeds, right down to him running away and giving his coat to that homeless guy. One of the great freaking callbacks of all time.
I like that coat.
When he says nice coat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, God, that's so great. And then he just takes off. But yeah, I think this movie is trying to be about something, and whether we feel they kind of fumble it sometimes, I think they are doing it. They are doing it, and they're having conversations that this is all like pre-Twitter. But Rachel is actually like, I wrote down, Rachel is human Twitter trying to guilt billionaires into becoming responsible, because that's most of what she does in this movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go ahead, say it.
She is what every woman in a superhero movie is. She's a love interest and also a moral compass. But she's interesting in the respect that she specifically, like, the main conflict that keeps being brought up is Bruce's mask. Because she sees him as this frivolous playboy, and she isn't seeing, the events of the movie that we're watching, which is Bruce actually doing something
right
to help people.
Right.
So of course she doesn't see that, and then she guilts him for it, and then she realizes who he really is and tells him that Bruce Wayne is the mask.
And she never feels bad for guilting him like that.
No?
Once she realized it, she should have been like, oh my God, I'm sorry. But nope. She just skirts away scot-free, and then she doesn't even come into the second movie.
She really gets what's coming to her next, though.
She becomes the girl in the refrigerator next time. Katie Holmes, what a weird choice for this movie. I think she's not great.
She's a different actress than the second movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have watched these movies. By the way, I wanted to mention that this is probably like 50% of the Batman content that I've ever consumed is just these 3 movies on repeat.
Yeah.
That's like half of, if you want to break it down.
Yeah, in your lifetime, that'd be about right.
Yeah, and I have never noticed that there's 2 Rachels.
Yeah, it's because this is the least watched movie. And everybody, I think people didn't like her in this movie. And I think it just sort of, I don't know if Christopher Nolan didn't like her, or if it was like a Rose Last Jedi situation where they're like, we're just gonna, but instead of like writing her out of the movie, they just recast her. But I think, I don't think Katie Holmes was great at like line delivery, but when she was drugged and like tripping, I thought she was really good. I was like, she looks legitimately panicked and confused and doesn't know what's going on. And I thought that those scenes of her,
Right.
tripping out in the car I thought she was really, really good.
I love this scene where she's at the water treatment plant and she realizes that she's in deep shit and she starts like running for the elevator.
The horror movie scene.
Yeah. No, she's really good at that.
She has moments in this movie where I think she's not terrible, and
I don't think she's terrible. I think the part is a weirdly written supporting character part.
Yeah.
Because she has to be multiple things.
There's more to this character than I think actually made its way in. Like the potential for this character to be interesting was more than I think what actually made it to screen.
Right.
And that goes for like the Dark Knight as well, even though I think she has a little more to do there. She's still essentially just Bruce Wayne's girlfriend.
Right.
And
Bruce Wayne's past.
Yeah.
I really love when she... Okay, and there's a thing in movies and TV where a woman slaps a man to make a point, and I hate it so much. It happens in like multiple seasons of Doctor Who where like a mother character will like slap the Doctor, and I'm like, why is that okay?
It's such
not okay.
An old fashioned. It's like it's I think as outdated a thing as like slapping a hysterical woman. You know what I mean? When like old movies would show like a woman freaking out and they'd be like, "Get a hold of yourself," and they'd slap her across the face and she'd be like, "Oh, thank you." Like, what? Is that a way to treat somebody who's having a nervous breakdown?
We just switched the roles.
Yeah,
if men are having too much of an ego, just slap them.
That is interesting to look at because I don't pay it any mind, because to me it is like a tropey thing to write in, slapping anybody. But like, yeah, I guess through like a lens where it's like you don't even touch somebody on the arm just to get their attention without like.
I work at an elementary school where
you are reminding people of consent all the time.
I'm constantly looking for, you can't do that. Hands to yourself. But what I'm gonna say is that trope I don't like, but it didn't bother me in this movie as much as it normally does, because I really was into it. I was like, he's here to murder a man.
Because you want to see a billionaire get put in his place.
That's not it.
No, I think that is it. And I'm not even laying that on you as like a shitty thing. Look, Bruce Wayne, you feel bad for him because his parents got killed. But he is an entitled billionaire kid who's really just mad that something didn't go his way. And it takes until she, like, does her little snap out of it move and is like, look around you. People down here lose everything they have every day. Like you are not alone in this, and you don't get to just murder your problems away.
When she says your father would be disappointed in you.
Yeah.
It hits. It is.
Yeah, it's a good line.
And it's kind of like a reverse Uncle Ben. Because, like, in the beginning of Uncle Ben, or of Spider-Man, Uncle Ben gives, like, the speech in the car where he...
Right.
It's about responsibility. It's him telling him to do the good thing. Instead, this is a character at the beginning of the movie telling him not to do a bad thing because of some...
Telling him to do it better. To not telling him not to do something about the crime. But telling him, like, you can't just shoot the single man who killed your parents. Doing that is a selfish act.
Right.
And it does nothing to help your city. Like, but, you know, if you were to do what your father was doing and put your resources towards making this bet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it is the thing that, you know, starting an electric car company that is exorbitantly priced so that you have a business that you can market as green is not solving the problem. But if you were to put actual resources, guess which billionaire I'm talking to right now. If you were to put your resources towards a solar farm, something you didn't profit from, something that just benefited the people and the environment. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right, Mark Zuckerberg.
It is a different thing,
Yes.
and I think that's the modern world parallel that I'm trying to draw. And no, that's a really, really good scene. And then
and film wise, there's something I don't like. This feels like a what is it, Mandela effect, where like I don't remember this from watching it as a kid, but when Bruce throws the gun into the river, he has like a brief flashback to the parents in the alley and the gun.
Oh, the
like
gun,
a close up of the gun, like he's just remembering his own gun violence, and then he throws it, and that added another level to the scene.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that, and then like the scene where he goes into the bar or the restaurant and
confronts Falcone.
Yeah, that actor, by the way, Tom Wilkinson, he's so good.
Oh yeah,
I love that guy.
He feels like he should be more.
Everything he's in a movie called Michael Clayton that I love, and he is so good in it. He's like this corporate lawyer who gets a conscience and like has a breakdown in court and is like completely unstable.
Oh damn.
He's so good. But like that, after everything you watch ahead of that, that scene is almost like unnecessary because you kind of get it. It almost just like hammers it home. I'm glad the scene's in there because, like I said, I love that actor. And I think the whole reason he goes in there and they have that scene is just for that line where he's like, you're Bruce Wayne. You'd have to go 1,000 miles to find someone who didn't know who you were. And so then, of course, he ends up on the other side of the world.
Right.
You know?
See, no, I see that as that scene was Bruce like finally realizing like, yeah, okay, I need to take on the fight, and then immediately doing it the wrong way. And like it also like showed the corruption.
Right.
And
right. I think it was all in service of showing like, yeah, this city, it's not about single criminals. It's about like, look how many cops and judges and all of that stuff are there.
It is unnecessary, but I do
like it. No, I like it. I'm not even complaining about it. I'm just saying like it just seems like the same scene we just saw with him and Rachel in the car.
It's worth it for the line, I could kill you right now.
Oh, yeah.
And no one
right in
would
front of
do
everybody.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty good stuff that all just sort of amounts to you sit in a mansion, or I guess at this point he's been at Princeton. You know, like you're in an Ivy League school, you're a billionaire, you know, quit your bitching or do something. Yeah. It's good stuff. Death and Rebirth, I put that on the show notes because I think that's another theme of this movie. Like Bruce Wayne is declared dead. You know, he wipes himself off the face of the earth, basically.
You know, he starts and ends this trilogy being dead.
Interesting.
I realized that.
Or does he? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the bookend. We'll discuss that when we get to
That's chapter 3.
When we get to the end of the trilogy. But yeah, it is about him being reborn as, not just like as Batman, because by that time he hasn't even settled on what his branding's going to be.
There's been no mention of bats.
His branding is on point though.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean,
he's
got the logo. He makes his weapons to look like the logo. I mean, it's.
I know. I'm surprised he didn't hire like a whole marketing team and like.
He probably hired a graphic design student and was like, this will be really good exposure for you. Once I start fighting crime, everyone's going to know your name.
That's right.
Yeah. But, yeah, I like that theme of this too, where it is about recreating yourself into what you want to be. And it's a lot of times what that means is you have to let go of what you currently are. I don't like this version of. I mean, how many movies have we seen this theme come up and talked about, like the idea of like becoming a sober person? A lot of times means you have to shed so much of your old life.
It's such a common theme, but like it's something that humans are doing all the time.
Right. At different stages of your life, you recreate yourself. You sort of reinvent yourself to be representative of what you want to accomplish.
And you can't do that if you're holding on to things like grief or anger, whatever it is that is preventing you from becoming Batman.
Let's talk about like his relationship with Liam Neeson in this. I feel like it's there. They don't super explore it a lot. Like their personal relationship.
Yeah, their personal relationship is like not.
But I feel like it kind of deserved more time, because all of these things that he sheds in order to be able to rebirth himself, his anger, his guilt, all of these things, Liam Neeson, they do show it, but not really. And he doesn't help him in the healthiest way.
They more say it.
Right, exactly. He helps him through these things. And I do feel like if they had sort of portrayed it better, you would have more of a sense of Bruce having to kind of reluctantly fight him at the end. Mm-hmm. But you get this, for somebody who helps you through so much of that stuff so that you can rebirth yourself as the best version of yourself. Like, the best we get is he saves him from going over the cliff, and Liam Neeson also telling him, like, you're my greatest student. Like, that's it. Yeah. There never really is like, oh, I don't want to have to. You feel like they should be closer than this movie portrays him as being.
This movie focuses more on, whenever Liam Neeson's there, they focus more on Bruce and him as being like topics rather than actual people. Like they're just opposing viewpoints. Yeah. Because they're both they're like foils.
Like a presidential debate.
That's right. President Liam Neeson, you have the floor. No, but like they've both lost someone to criminals, mm-hmm. and therefore are going down this path. But where it changes is Bruce being like, no, you don't kill to perform justice.
Their personal morals are where they split. They want the same thing, but they just have these wildly different ideologies about it.
Yeah, so they're kind of clashing. But
it's almost like X-Men. Like Magneto and Professor X, which, mm-hmm. again, like in the earlier movies, that stuff is also, it's there. But in like the newer stuff, like First Class and Days of Future Past and things like that, it's explored more, that split between them. That they are friends, but they just have such wildly different ideologies.
Well, with Ra's al Ghul, it's interesting because he... And then my mind goes blank.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
That happens.
No, he really just like... What's the word for being such a buzzkill? He is just... He's a nihilist. That's it. He takes everything to the extreme because he thinks there's no like good in the world. And it does, he betrays himself in like little lines like he says things to Bruce in the movie that are just blatantly not true, shown in other parts of the movie. Like Thomas Wayne does not fight back against the man who mugs him.
Oh, yeah.
But in his last moments, he does not die a coward. He dies a man of action because he jumps in front of a bullet.
Yeah.
Right. And Ra's al Ghul doesn't know that. He just knows the story of what happened to Bruce Wayne. So he tells Bruce, your father died a coward because he was a man of inaction.
He died because he didn't take real act. Like,
right.
He is kind of what Bruce is before he realizes I have to do, when Bruce wants to kill Joe Chill, like, that's who Liam Neeson is someone who never grew out of that.
He needed a Rachel.
Oh, yeah, but his Rachel was killed.
Exactly.
Interesting. But yeah, there's, that is interesting. I never really thought of him as a nihilist because I don't think he thinks everything is pointless. I think he thinks there is a point to what he's doing, and he does have a belief system in what he's doing. But you're right in the sense that he doesn't have faith in the system. He doesn't have faith that a corrupt society can right itself.
Right.
And that that it takes time. He wants sort of like an immediate and final solution.
It reminds me a little bit, and it reminds me of Avatar, in the terms of like...
Wait, Airbender or Blue People?
Airbender.
Okay.
Because it's all about balance, and it's, there's there's light and there's dark, but what happens when the city is all dark? Can you save it? Whatnot? That kind of thing.
Right. Is something ever too far gone?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of that, and I think there's a lot of this movie is about Bruce Wayne figuring out that balance, figuring out that things aren't black and white, like things aren't dark and light. When he is telling him the story, he goes, "The first time I stole something so that I wouldn't starve, I lost all my preconceptions about right and wrong."
Right.
And I don't know if I've noticed that line before, but it just made me sit there and I go, I know people in my real life that this applies to. That
have never had that.
That have never, right, that have never, people who vilify, even something legal, like people who vilify people on welfare and things like that. It's like, you have never, you've never been on welfare. You've never needed it,
right.
Don't judge people who, there's a very, that line just, I think, hit me really hard because I think a lot of people have an idea about, well, this is illegal, so therefore it's wrong. And this is legal, therefore it must be okay.
Yeah.
And
I this is like a little off of that topic, but I saw a tweet that was like, if you give $600 to a poor person, they'll spend it. But if you give it to a rich person, they'll double it in a few weeks. And someone replied to that with, the difference is that the poor person needs that $600 immediately to spend it to survive. It's that bread that you're stealing.
They're not spending it on frivolous things.
Right.
They're feeding their family.
They don't have the time to sit on it and create wealth.
I've seen very similar memes and interactions, but yeah, it is funny, and I think it does point out. I like this movie does not shy away from pointing out Bruce's wealth, his wealth privilege. You know what I mean? I mean, we talk a lot about white privilege and male privilege and things like that today, but it is like very much talking about economic privilege and like you've never had to steal to not starve. And when he points that out and you realize like for the first time in his life, he was hungry, not even like starving. He was hungry for the first time in his life. And it's like, yeah, that's a really different viewpoint. And you kind of, I think Christian Bale's a great actor, and he really sells this comic book character.
He does.
As a fully fleshed out privileged billionaire who's learning about the world.
You can even tell. I love that his birthday scene where, of
Dude.
course, he has to evacuate the building. He has to. But you can tell that Bruce Wayne is literally fed up, and he's using this as an excuse to, okay, I'm gonna bitch out all these rich people.
2 birds with 1 stone. Yeah.
And I love how they laugh along with the joke, thinking he's being a party person, and he goes, no,
like, no,
quit your smiling, take your booze, and leave.
And
it is so satisfying.
all of his father's old friends are like shaking their head, like Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer's in this movie. I always forget until I watch it. I'm like, he has such a nothing part. It's like just he's in like 3 scenes. And I'm like, Rutger Hauer, you were in Blade Runner. You should be like all over this movie. And Ken Watanabe, his role is so small in this movie.
Is that the board member?
No, Ken Watanabe is the Japanese actor who they tell him is Ra's al Ghul.
The fake Ra's al Ghul? Okay.
And he plays he also shows up in Nolan movies. He's in Inception. He's the Japanese guy they're stealing from at the beginning.
To further infiltrate dreams? Like in the first dream.
The very first, the opening sequence, they're in his dream, in the place that like floods. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then he like kind of strong arms them into going after Cillian Murphy, also a Nolan actor. Like, so like
Nolan,
of these,
you need to share your actors.
He's got these people he likes to work with, and I think it's great.
Other directors want a chance to play. Okay, I mean, you can't have what's Alfred's name?
Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine's in other things too.
You can't hog Michael Caine. That's not fair.
I mean, look, Michael Caine. Christian Bale did multiple Christopher Nolan movies. Ken Watanabe, Cillian Murphy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows up in the 3rd one of these. Also, Inception.
Isn't the Batwoman or Catwoman? Isn't she in some other things?
Anne Hathaway might be. Yes, she's in Interstellar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that he has these actors. Tom Hardy, where he's just like, I like working with these guys. I'm going to put him in a bunch of my stuff. I want to work with these people more.
He knows how they work. You know, you don't have to start over from square zero. I get it.
Yeah.
Like I had a math teacher in 7th grade, like the end of 7th grade. One day she was just like, "Oh, I realized how your brain works." Like she literally told me she figured out how I did math, and it was like the end of the school year.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't have to do that with every actor to figure out.
Right.
Like you just start with who
These
you know.
This might be the only Morgan Freeman movies that he did with Nolan. But I think Morgan Freeman is having the most fun in the whole trilogy in this one. I think
really.
I think he is kind of. Maybe it's just I think he's the most fun.
The role Lucius is very fun.
I think in this one especially, he's kind of like he's the corporate guy who's hit the dead end. He doesn't really care. Mm-hmm. And then he just sort of is like the whole when he realizes that Bruce wants all the coolest shit, then he kind of is, you see him start getting into it more.
Yeah.
And when he goes, hey, what's that? And he's like, I don't think you'd be interested in that. And it's the Tumbler, the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like you can kind of see Morgan Freeman's character having it kind of coming alive.
Do you really think that thing was out of storage at that moment? Or do you think he expected a visit?
We talked about
Let
this.
me push this
where
on
he
him.
started to like kind of take covers off of things to be like...
Oh, you mean that giant car?
Oh,
that's
that tank?
Just conveniently parked there? Yeah.
What do you think of the Batmobile in this movie? Do you like this version of it?
I do like it. I am gonna say, this complaint is thrown at Tom Holland's Spider-Man that he doesn't build anything his own or do anything himself. This Batman is handed a lot of stuff. And, like, I think all Batman are. Because, I mean, they start out with a lot of funds. But, like, I don't know. I thought he did more designing of his own stuff. Like,
Well, he did build, like, his helmet. He built the Batcave.
Mm-hmm. I just think the fact that the Batmobile isn't original bugs me a little bit.
It.
Like, when they come back in the third movie and there's, like, a bunch of them, I'm like, come on. Really? And that's the original prototype. I'm sure you can headcanon that they added a bunch of stuff when they also made it black.
Yeah, I kind of like that he realizes he has this division of his company where he can just get his gear built.
Yeah, but he has to buy it in bulk.
Sort of bury it. But even like the vehicles and things like that you're just like, oh, let me look at these abandoned prototypes and then but I get it. It's not as much fun as like the first Iron Man when Tony Stark, there's a whole montage of him building the suit in the cave and then going to his lab and building like a refined, like there's something really fun about that first Iron Man movie of just the parts of him making his suits.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really cool to watch. But, I mean, just as a whole, but as a vehicle, because this isn't like the car, the race car, or the old Batmobile designs. I really like this. I like that it is not sleek and it's not like a rocket or futuristic looking.
It's bulky.
It's a big, bulky, clumsy looking, just brute of a car. And I really do like it. I think it's really fun.
I love the motorcycle that comes out of it.
Yeah.
It's not in this movie.
No.
But you gotta assume it's there.
That's the implication
the
in that is that, that it turns into a motorcycle at a certain point. He gets a new vehicle every movie.
Oh yeah, he does.
So,
gotta
sell those toys.
The Batmobile, the Bat Cycle, and the Bat Copter?
Plane? I don't know.
The Bat UFO?
I think that's about all I got. I got a bunch of just random talking points. You got anything else you want to hit on?
I think we hit on a lot, and I think this movie has a lot.
I think this movie has a lot, too. I will hit this one time. Fight scenes are a little bit rough sometimes. I think Christopher Nolan was not an action director at this point, and I think he was figuring some stuff out. But I think a lot of the Batman fist-fighting stuff, it's shot super close.
Yeah.
And a lot of quick cuts, and it's a little bit disorienting, and that may be what he was going for. I think a lot of it was just he wasn't quite used to shooting tight action like that.
It's
because you can see it evolve through the movies.
Yeah, I feel like it's like that quick cut, shaky, but like in a boring way. Like almost where it's leaving most of the action out.
Exactly.
Or,
it's not captivating. I feel like it was a shortcut to compensate for what he wasn't great at shooting yet or portraying. Mm-hmm. But like there's the sword fighting during the training, like that's shown pretty well. That's choreographed well, but there's just something about those up close fist fights that I'm just I'm not wild about them, but they get the job done.
Yeah,
it works.
Also the the giant wave of bats that he's able to summon.
Yep,
love that.
Straight out of a comic. Batman Year One. A lot of this does. I think a lot of his stuff comes out of the Frank Miller.
You've told me that, yeah.
Some of the themes and some of the scenes like that are directly out of like the Frank Miller comics, which I looking for, I gave you year one to read.
Yeah, that's I've seen the art style of it, and like it's interesting. I just haven't
Mazzucchelli, yeah.
I haven't sat down to read it
Yeah,
yet.
no, but just in back at what we were talking about before, like you're looking for good standalone Batman comics, like the Frank Miller stuff from the 80s and 90s is really good. They're standalone kind of graphic novels,
Right.
and that's his origin, which is a great Jim Gordon story too. Yeah,
Batman doing a bunch of cool shit.
Batman being Batman.
That's what he should be.
That's all I got though, bud.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, we did it.
That's the beginning of Batman.
The beginning of Batman.
Yep.
And
the beginning of shoutouts.
Shoutouts?
Yep. We are shouting. Go ahead, and you mentioned it already a little bit, but what is it you're shouting out?
A YouTube channel called In Praise of Shadows, and this guy does a lot of pretty lengthy video essays about horror and horror in general. He breaks down horror franchises, some sort of lesser known low-budget horror movies and why they're great. Here's something you should watch, this kind of thing. Does some stuff on H.P. Lovecraft, which I think is really, really good because it's a very real look at Lovecraft, warts and all. And we all know
a lot of warts.
And also, did not know this, but there is a line of thought that H.P. Lovecraft was trans or queer at the very least, that he was very effeminate for portions of his life,
but like in a repressed kind of.
I think it was very repressed.
Hateful.
His ex-wife said he was not really into sex with her, and that he spoke in a high register, that he wore dresses when he was a small boy, and it's very, very, very interesting stuff I had never heard about H.P. Lovecraft, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh my gosh, dresses. Men wearing dresses makes you racist. That's it.
That's right. That's
why we have gendered clothing.
I
no.
thought it was just an interesting clash of his tolerance and his intolerance. And
I've heard a lot of interesting stuff about Lovecraft. He never left his hometown ever in his life. I think he left like once and then went back. Because he just hated everywhere else so much.
Oh, he was definitely kind of a downer. But he loved ice cream.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is not the video I wanted to shout out. He has one, and I am linking it in the show notes. It is called Batman is Gothic Horror. And it is all about how Batman is, I touched on it a little bit in our discussion, that Batman comics, Gotham City, all the imagery was meant to portray very gothic horror imagery. He's dressed as a bat. All of his enemies are, clowns and monsters, and the balance of Gotham City is always like on the edge of something terrible happening, and that is what it's meant to portray, and how a lot of modern Batman comics have tried to clean up Gotham City and make it more modern, and how that sort of is detracting from a lot of the heart of what this character in these stories are. I found it insanely interesting.
It's the faults of a legacy character.
A lot of it, yeah, and new artists and new writers who come in and want to put their fingerprints on everything, so they make these big sweeping changes, and it's like at a certain point you are starting to wash away what this character is about. And
right.
But I won't give away the whole video. I can't. It's like an hour long. But it's really good, and if you are a Batman fan, I really recommend it, because I think it's super interesting. And if you're a Lovecraft and a horror movie fan in general, or horror writing fan in general, check out that channel called In Praise of Shadows, because I think the dude is really smart. He's really good at putting videos together, and he's really good at getting his ideas across. And I've spent the last week or so watching a ton of his videos.
Sounds really cool.
Yeah, check it out. What do you got, Us?
I'm shouting out an artist this week by the name of Daniel Swain or Swan, Swain.
Looks like Swain.
He's on TikTok. He's got a website, an Instagram, a bunch of other stuff. But I found him through an art series he's doing. He does digital art and painting.
Okay.
And currently he is studying, he's an art student, and so he is studying, what is it called? Biology illustration.
Anatomy.
Anatomy,
Yeah.
and like wildlife and like realism. And so he has taken on a project of drawing bug Pokemon
Interesting.
as realistic
As real bugs?
as the bugs that inspired their design,
Okay.
but like with a little bit of flair. And it's really cool. And the goal is for him to make a poster with all of them
With all
at
the
the
bugs.
end. So, but it's really cool to watch him as he's like explaining, oh, well, this completely made up animal falls into a few different real life animal categories, and I'm deciding that it's more of a moth than a butterfly based on this. And it's just really fun to hear that. And also he draws dinosaurs, so if you like Jurassic Park,
I do.
he's also got stuff on that. So yeah, check him out. That's
Swainahan?
That's Daniel Swain, yes.
Okay.
Swainahan is his handle.
And that link will be in the show notes.
It will be.
All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of The Picture Show with Austin and Phil Rude. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. It helps our visibility. It helps us grow the show.
That's right. Another way to help us grow is to tell a friend. You can do that however you like, but I personally prefer to kill people's parents, to traumatize them, to teach them a valuable lesson about economics that leads them down the path of finding our show and becoming a listener.
I thought you were going to say you find a jump drive on the eastern slopes and carry it up to the top of the mountain, where
No,
you
Dad,
can
that would have been a better joke.
download it to your iPhone.
Why could they do that when we could just release our voices into the air
That's true.
like a hallucinant
Yeah,
drug?
we put it in the water supply and then vaporize it and then tell people about it 100 times. What's our movie next week, Oz?
We're continuing this trilogy with The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
That's right.
One of the greats.
It is.
Cool.
We have social media. Hey, Dad,
Yeah.
what's your social media?
philrude.com. From there you can get all our episodes and you can buy the artwork. Artwork for sale, everybody.
Artwork.
I am selling the art for these in threes, in trilogies. You can buy all three of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. The Evil Dead has sold.
Has been spoken for
Yep.
very adamantly.
Don't sleep on it. It sells quick. And once I get the three, I have started the Batman Begins piece. Once I get the three done, those will be posted.
If you have a Batman fan in your life, now is the chance.
Christmas is coming, guys. I'm sorry. Holidays are coming. Holiday gift giving. Also, very suitable for Hanukkah.
That's right.
Whatever you celebrate.
Can give
Give a gift.
One drawing per Hanukkah day, right?
Boy. Whew. I guess if you want to hire me for
No.
5 more. Aside from that, at Phil Rude on Twitter, at Phil Rude75 on Instagram. Oz, what's yours?
I'm on Twitter. You can find me at Austin N. Rude or Old Who Review. And please do find me at Old Who Review. That's not Old Horror. Don't give me that
It's not
look,
Old
Dad.
Horror Review.
It's
Yeah,
Old
nope.
Who Review.
Old Who Review, if you say so.
Yeah, please find me on that this week because Doctor Who is releasing new episodes again. And I am not going to shut up about it. So
Better there than here.
that's right. I'm limiting my ranting, but also demanding that you go see me rant
go listen
right
to me.
now.
That's awesome. All right. Oz, you want to read the end credits?
Yep, we did everything ourselves.
There you have it. We'll see you next time on The Picture Show.
See ya.